Good morning and welcome. Would you please join in singing with us here, number 1017 from the Teal hymnal, Building a New Way, number 1017. And if you don't have a Teal hymnal with you, you can find the lyrics in the order of service.
Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan. This morning we are on Zoom exclusively, so from wherever you may be joining us, whether it's at your home or in another location, we bid you a warm welcome and invite you into this time of being in community together. Our community is a liberal, progressive voice for spirituality, ethics, and religion in the city of Ann Arbor. We have been meeting continuously since 1865, helping bring alive the vision and dream of progressive spirituality ever since then, through to this day. I'm the Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, serving our community as senior minister, and alongside me in today's abbreviated time of worship and centering are members of the Vision 2050 Steering Committee and other significant lay leaders who have supported and contributed to that community-wide effort. Our time together in worship today is briefer than typical because immediately following the worship and centering time, we'll be going straight into our congregation's annual meeting. This is one of two annual meetings that we hold in the year. We have a winter congregational meeting, typically in January, and then this second one, in which we gather as a community to engage in the practice of democratic governance. Our community, unlike those in other denominations, is governed by the members itself. All that we do, all that we are, all that we aspire to be, our vision for the future is decided by you, the members and good friends of UUAA. So it's in that spirit we gather this morning specifically to reflect on and learn about that vision work over the past year, to honor it, to celebrate it, to appreciate that even in a time of pandemic when we have had to move with care for one another and in ways that have not been typical to our pre-pandemic norms, the work of trying to do good, to live into UUAA's dream and vision for the future has continued unabated. Today will be an opportunity to learn more about that and celebrate that together as a community. If you're newer to our community or a casual or occasional friend, please know that you're welcome to stay engaged in not just the worship service, but the congregational meeting that will follow afterwards. All are warmly welcome. Only members will be able to vote, but anyone can choose to watch and see how we engage in our commitment to democracy together. If you are indeed newer or are even a long-timer, we invite you to take a moment. You can say hello in the chat, introduce yourself, say where you're joining us from. If you are newer, if it is your first or second time joining us, please be sure to say that. I know that you'll receive a very warm welcome from other members of our community. In addition, following the conclusion of our time together today, we invite you to visit UUAA.org, where we have a newcomer survey. If you take just a moment to complete that, it'll help us stay in touch with you, and our coordinator for Welcoming Ministries, Hannah Hotchkiss, would be happy to answer any additional questions that you may have. One brief announcement as we move into our time together today more deeply. This upcoming Wednesday, June 8th, I'll be personally leading a workshop, a one-session workshop with the Church of the Larger Fellowship, the CLF. It's a joint UUAA CLF program focused on stress, trauma, and burnout. These are certainly experiences that have been very live for many of us over the course of the pandemic, and maybe even more so in recent weeks with all the civic and social news that we've been navigating in our country. Please join us this Wednesday, June 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern for this opportunity. There's information in our e-news about how to register, or you can just write to me, email me directly at manish@uuaa.org, and I'll be happy to connect you and make sure that you get registered for this opportunity. For now, I invite us to find a place of centering and groundedness in our hearts as we move more deeply together into our time of worship and centering.
When Unitarian Universalists gather, we light a chalice to mark the start of our time together. This morning, Ruth Moore will light our chalice, and our chalice lighting words are by Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Please join me now in saying our congregation's covenant, the promises that we make to each other. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant to each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
We were talking about a puzzle as the metaphor for the work that we're doing in the Vision 2050 this year. And how, each of us holds one of these puzzle pieces or more than one, whether we're working on that edge over by climate action, climate justice, or the edge over here by anti-racism, anti-oppression, or the edge over there for radical welcome. And we've gathered in teams to see how these pieces are going to fit together and what picture emerges as the puzzle gets further and further along. And right now, some of it's pretty tangible, and some of those 15 groups working on anti-racism, anti-oppression, or the sustainability team working on solar, or the new boiler. That's pretty tangible stuff that we know that little piece of the puzzle. And now that's how it builds into some of the other elements, and how other people can say, wow, that's a really cool piece of the puzzle. Can I be part of that? Or part of the puzzle? Can I put my piece over there and see how I fit into that? So, where are we in 2022, in June of 2022? We haven't even finished the edge. But we're making progress. We're beginning to create that edge. We really are. And we got little clear pieces in the middle, but we aren't quite sure how it ties in to that edge yet. And some of the pieces of the puzzle are really fuzzy, like all those blue pieces that I always give up on in the sky. Or all the green pieces that are kind of fuzzy grass at the bottom. Some of it's harder to put together than others. But that's just part of making the puzzle. And pretty soon we'll have traction on certain pieces, and more people coming in with fresh eyes and fresh ideas and saying, oh, look, here's that edge piece you've been missing. Or I have a piece that I've been carrying with me that I've brought, and I'd like to place it in. So anyway, I think there's a lot of fun things to do with this puzzle metaphor.
Good morning. I'm Rick Witten, and I'm proud to serve this congregation as Secretary of the Board of Trustees. For the past 2 years, I've also served as co-chair, along with Kathy Edgren, of the Vision Steering Committee. We were charged by the board with helping the congregation to organize and align around our vision priority areas, and to do that in ways that are flexible, adaptable, and sustainable. One way of meeting this goal is our vision calendar of events. Today's celebration service is one of those events, and it's to ensure that we take time each year to lift up and recognize our accomplishments in our vision priority areas. Coupled with the celebration is an annual reflection where we look back at the year past and ask what went well, what could we do better, and what ideas do we have for the future. We held our first reflection events this past month, where we asked those questions of the board, our staff, our lay leaders, and the entire congregation. The results of that reflection will be reported in the fall, but changes are already being implemented. You may have noticed I referred to our vision priority areas, not our 3 priority areas, and that's because we heard the importance of incorporating vision into our terminology. The other vision calendar events are our gathering tables. Each gathering table focuses on one vision priority area, and they are intended to serve the needs and goals of the people working in those priority areas. The entire congregation has a seat at the table, and it's an opportunity to be informed and invited into the work. All the events on our vision calendar are intended to be flexible and adaptable. The important thing is not how we do them, but that we do them. Today's celebration is different from last year's, and next year will be different, and the same for all of our vision events. Thinking of our puzzle metaphor for this morning, I think about how our family does puzzles. Our son, Forrest, insists that we hide the box that contains the picture, so that we have to assemble the puzzle without knowing what the final picture will be. And that's what we're doing as a congregation. We are building this puzzle without knowing the final picture because it's unknowable. Each of us is a piece of that puzzle, and we're always adding new pieces. So I would ask us all to consider the question, what is our piece of this beautiful picture that we're building? We will now hear in a short video from our anti-racism, anti-oppression group.
Hi, I'm Arika Lycan. I'm co-chair of the Racial Justice ARC, one of the groups within the anti-racism, anti-oppression priority area, which I'm happy to be joining the organizing team for next year.
And I'm Joanie Parker. I was part of the organizing team that put together last year's anti-racism, anti-oppression gathering table. and I'll be working with Arika on next year's organizing team.
I was so pleased to see 15 groups convene around anti-racism and anti-oppression work across the congregation. Coming together allows us to take these separate threads of work and see it as a whole that we can collectively support. And I expect we'll find additional ways to coordinate between groups.
Absolutely. And these conversations highlighted UUAA's community partnerships, which are already achieving meaningful work in restorative justice, safe and accessible housing, refugee resettlement, or broadening voter participation. These partnerships tend to fly below the radar, so it was important to lift them up.
Agreed. The gathering table highlighted that there are hundreds of folks across our congregation who are already engaged in this work. So today we celebrate you. Whether you were one of the visionaries who put this work into motion, day of volunteers who actually made it happen, or if you joined us at the gathering table.
We also learned we're not great at sharing volunteer opportunities, so everyone knows what's coming up and can get involved. The organizing team will work hard next year to get you the information you need. Stay tuned for more on that.
And we uncovered a collective desire to infuse anti-racism, anti-oppression work deeper into the fabric of our spiritual life and UUAA-wide dialogue. An example of this is the book circles that Racial Justice ARC has recently held, supporting individuals' personal anti-racism journeys. We plan to continue and expand these in the future.
You shared new ideas on how to further weave this into our culture through celebrations, music, guest speakers, and maybe a future partnership with a BIPOC congregation.
So we are organizing for action. There are many ways to support this work. Contact us at arao@uuaa.org to get involved.
And thanks.
Our anti-racism, anti-oppression work is being focused and energized in a way that it hasn't in some time. And I'd like to give a shout out to Kiana Dene Perkins, who got us started by organizing the Racial Justice ARC. We will now hear from our Radical Welcome organizing members.
The Radical Welcome Priority Area team engaged in a year of learning and defining and introducing the concept of Radical Welcome. After workshops and discussions, the team created a working definition of Radical Welcome for our congregation. We coordinated with the worship team to introduce living into Radical Welcome at a service. At the service, we celebrated singing together for the first time in 2 years and giving voice to a YRUU member supported by family and classmates in lighting the chalice with words that he had chosen. The children's story, Intersection Allies, read by multi-generational voices, spoke to the ideal of radical welcome.
We make room for all.
The service continued with the open-minded, dynamic speaker Alex Capitan from the Transforming Hearts Collective, sharing her insights and personal experiences with UU culture, which generated excitement for the gathering table later that afternoon.
It means practice, not perfection. Oh, hello there.
At the gathering table, through an engaging and interactive workshop, Alex led us in distinguishing the difference between mere hospitality and transforming to a radically welcoming community. 72 curious individuals participated in the workshop and through breakout rooms explored radical welcome and the effects on changing culture. One gathering table participant shared her insights after attending the workshop.
Hi, Susie Thompson here. I'm awakened after the amazing Radical Welcome gathering table. My heart and mind were open to new ways of being. I had to recognize my own identity as a privileged white woman, educated, liberal, old, articulate, mobile, connected, comfortable. I like the life I've made for myself, and I truly believed I was open to others, no matter how different they were. Wrong. During the workshop, I learned that I do invite people into my world. I include others in my world, but it's still my world, and that is not transformation. That is not radical welcome. I need to be uncomfortable, to unlearn assumptions, to ask questions, to experience new ways of being. I want UUAA to have the different rhythms and flavors of each of our worlds, to become a mosaic of all of our beloved selves. As long as our differences are still in line with UU principles, I want to begin the journey of transformation and radical welcome with all of you. It will take practice, but we can do it together. Thanks.
We look forward to continuing the journey as we explore our culture at UUAA and work with small groups and leadership teams to expand the voices, presence, and power of people of all identities, beliefs, and backgrounds.
Radical Welcome is our newest priority area. It builds on our long history of being a welcoming congregation and accessible, and it seeks to transform our culture. Next, we'll hear from our Climate Action, Climate Justice team.
Hi, I'm Sandy Simon, and I serve on the Climate Action, Climate Justice Leadership Team, along with Ed Lynn, Kate Hutchins, Ruth Moore, and Janine Laprade. We've had an extremely busy and extremely fulfilling year as we gathered information that we need for planning several years of work that our congregation needs to do to fulfill our Vision 2050 goals for climate justice and environmentalism. You may already know that we are using the UUA's Green Sanctuary recertification process to help us define and organize that work. And in using that process, it has guided us to some wonderful partnerships and connections that we wanted to lift up today. A few that I've been involved with allow me to hear ideas and share resources at the Zoom gatherings that we have with the other UU congregations that are in the Green Sanctuary Certification Program. We're all in this together and we share our resources. I've also been able to learn a lot from the City of Ann Arbor 2030 District Houses of Worship gatherings that have presented climate information available to houses of worship.
One of our actions this year was to partner with a group of students from the Grand Sustainability Institute, which provided us a template of how we could achieve some carbon neutrality on our site, and we are list of actions that we are now diligently working on.
Partnering with the Earth to save our planet home starts right here, right now, with us. Examples include food justice leading a congregational zero waste effort, pastoral care developing climate anxiety and grief resources for our community. Other groups and early exploration of new climate possibilities include Friday fun nights and religious education. Plus, some new to climate activity folks found each other and are exploring new area for potential action, green burial.
The Climate Action, Climate Justice Leadership Group worked to begin conversations with potential partners from within Michigan's climate justice movement. We're focused on following the leadership of frontline communities, those most vulnerable to the impacts of climate disruption, and fence line communities, those historically most burdened by the environmental impacts of the fossil fuel industrial complex. A highlight this year was a beautiful and rich virtual gathering on January 4th with organizers from the Michigan Alliance for Justice and Climate, or MAGIC, Michigan Unitarian Universalist Social Justice Network, or MUSGEN, and Interfaith Council for Peace and Justice, or ICPJ. We are approaching these relationships with great care and moving at the speed of trust because this piece of the work is long haul. We're celebrating these beginnings and we're hopeful for the deepening and widening of these efforts in our congregation.
With all of the energy and appreciation of this time together, let us sing together here and at home, and move in body or spirit as you are inspired, as we sing number 1028, The Fire of Commitment, number 1028.
As a congregation, we celebrate that we have so much to be proud of and much to be humble about as we experiment, make mistakes, learn, and move toward making our vision a reality. We hope you are moved to bring your fresh eyes and ideas to help us put this puzzle picture together in the coming year. Listen for on-ramps, opportunities across our community to do a little or a lot. Put your fire of commitment into action. We each hold one or more puzzle piece. What shape is yours? Where will it fit? And what picture will emerge?